and welcome to Wake and Bake News, and I'm your host, Shampoo VTA, Kelly Davis, and how are you on this Wednesday morning? It is Wednesday, right? I'm losing track of time. There's been so much crazy shit going on. Yes, it's Wednesday. I'm coming at you again, just woke up, wiped the sleep out of my eyes, sleep out of my eyes. I drank most of my coffee, tea. I'm like just barely awake. But there's a couple things I just wanted to jump into, talk about this morning, because I think it's stuff. It's stuff to talk about, Okay, so the first thing is, of course, last night was the California primary, and I did not vote in the California primary because I am an independent, and I mean absolutely and completely independent from any party. I'm not an independent where I'm a Republican that didn't want to have to carry the moniker of the Republicans because they fucked up so bad, and it's embarrassing, so now I call myself an independent. No, I left the Democratic Party because I got sick and tired of them jacking around each little group that supports them and making them promises and then dicking them in the fucking end, and we end up with another white guy in office. Okay. Or male, or something like this. So I was just getting tired of this. I felt, like they'd played me long enough. I was now 50. Hillary Clinton was severely bashed in 2008, and I was really butthurt. I was a Puma. I was a Puma supporter. Okay, so I totally understand how Bernie Sanders supporters feel. And I get that Hillary has her detractors and the Clintons are not popular. Get it? It's politics. I don't care. I'm not in love with a candidate. I'm not here to be in love with the candidate. I don't give a fuck about loving a candidate. I want to be able to rip the candidate to pieces if necessary. And if I think they're the second coming of Jesus Christ, there's so much fucking personal, pride and investment there that once you find out the person is a dickhead, you can't beat the shit out of them. I can beat the shit out of Hillary Clinton. I'm just the person to beat the shit out of Hillary Clinton if necessary. So leave us to our work. Okay, she's going to be a fine leader because she is a crook. I mean, I'm not going to mince words here. She has survived some of the most difficult politics that this earth has ever known. And now she is shooting for the presidency of one of the most difficult countries to become the head of. And a world power. Give it to the woman. She might be Game of Thrones, but she gaming it right. And isn't that what leadership really is? And it is. I'm sorry. But it is. Okay, if you get somebody up there who really honestly believes everything they're telling people, they'll be crushed. When things don't work out, they'll be, oh my God. Oh, I can't. The gods are against me or whatever. They'll fucking fail. You're lucky that Barack Obama did not believe, obviously, most of the stuff he knew he was selling a bill of goods to get into the White House. He did what he could. He turned out to be a very good leader, and his playing you was part of that. Because he understood the properties of politics, which is that you have to, I'm stepping on the cord. You have to, vilify the other person, absolutely. So that other person has to make themselves Teflon. Unlike Donald Trump, who is not Teflon. Everything's sticking to him, it's just nobody cares, right? There used to be this video game from Japan where this guy would roll around and things would stick to him until he was a big giant ball of cars and fucking lamps and houses and shit stuck to him, and it would just get bigger and bigger, and that's what Donald Trump is. That's not a president, okay? I'm sorry. We don't elect presidents, or we haven't in the past, because they had a rhythmic sales pitch that we liked. This isn't fucking slap chop, This isn't a fucking television ad. This isn't reality TV. So when you start to actually think about him having responsibility for the country, it gets a little fucking, for real, terrifying. Because the guy couldn't even fucking run TV shows and shit. They ask him his opinion on every goddamn thing, like he's an expert on shit. No, he's a dipwad with a big mouth is what the fuck he is. And get ready to hear me say that for the next fucking 4 months. That man has now, like, boom, slid right into my fucking range. You know, I'm here, I'm fighting marijuana. Legalize marijuana. No prisoners for pot. You know, as much as I can fight that fight, but I can see that those forces are beginning to be quite satisfied with the wins that they're having. So the push, the passionate push, is not exactly there. And I'm not, like, so blind to that I don't, you know, I'm incapable of shifting. Okay, so I'm not shifting, but I'm saying that now I can look at Trump. You know, I can bring Trump into my gunfire. So legalize marijuana, no prisoners for pot, fuck you on your fucking monopolies, you know, corporate weed, and Trump, and little fucking Sheldon Adelson too. You know, so I got them now in my firing range, right? I'm like at the gun. Boom! Okay. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about was, first I wanted to say, thank God the primary season is over. We can stop hearing about, not Bernie Sanders, but just all the news was just going fucking nuts with this shit. Seriously, they hyped that up way more than it needed to be hyped. Okay? The story was that Hillary Clinton took the nomination that she was more than likely to take. And Donald Trump beat a field of idiots that weren't prepared to actually run or cared about a presidential campaign because obviously Hillary Clinton is pretty sure win. You know, she's a historic figure. She has tons of experience in government, which is part of what her detractors are saying is bad. And Donald Trump is a showman. He's like P.T. Barnum running for president. Ain't gonna happen. And if it does, it will literally be the end of the country. It will literally be. He will sell off parts of the country like a Americathon. Well, we're in debt. Let's sell off part of this. You know. He'll be selling off roads and shit, you know, just to balance the budget. No, you do not want his kind of leadership in Washington, because that's the kind of leadership that got the banks in trouble, the real estate market. You would be inviting that times 100. No fucking way. You know, not even. I mean, seriously, I will get angry if it even starts to look like the guy has a fucking breath of a chance. And he doesn't. My husband and I were talking this morning, and we were like, this is all a mirage, because as soon as people are like Trump and Hillary neck and neck in the polls, you're doing a poll 4 months out. Dude, that doesn't mean shit. I could wipe my ass with that poll. Let me tell you what that poll is worth. It ain't worth dick. It ain't worth nothing, because they weren't even the presumptive nominee at the point where this poll was done. So don't be stupid. All right. Polls within the month before election time, I'm very concerned about. I will pay attention to those. But 4 months out, get the fuck out of here. 4 months in politics is, I had to learn all of these lessons. Trust me, I was the butthurt one because Hillary lost in 2008 and I was for her. And not Barack Obama, not because, you know, he's black or something. It's because I knew the guy was just filling people full of fucking hot air. Everybody's just drinking the Kool-Aid. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm all for the first black president, but you guys are losing your minds here. I mean, people were saying he's going to pay my rent. You know, he's going to pay off all my bills. And I'm like, whoa, where are you getting this? You know, and of course that's Fox News and they're fucking assholes. And they find the one crazy person in the group to interview, you know, and not saying this person's crazy. But I just thought, okay, yeah, this is an amazing, wonderful event, but this guy is not the miracle worker. He's not going to go to Washington and walk on water, and it kind of pissed me off that he acted like he was. I mean, there were pictures of him as Superman and all kinds of shit, and I was just like, okay, this is just so disingenuous and insulting to my intelligence. I know what presidents are capable of. And miracles and raising the dead is not among them. And you kind of sold that guy to me like that. And one thing I hate is hype. That's why I like Hillary Clinton. There ain't no fucking hype. The minute you come at me with hype, I hate it. Oh my God, I hate it. It's like, it's part of the advertising thing. The way they've marketed to us since we were kids. Hype, 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 hype. It's just the minute I feel hype, I want to run away. Oh God, run away. Run away. You know? It's like when I see a cruise ship commercial. Well. And they show kids climbing on a climbing wall and playing in a pool and families just in love and having so much fun. The hype is so thick and disgusting. I just go, now I know damn well that that is not some floating palace of miracles. I'll bet you $1 million it is not that fucking exciting. It's probably boring. Some of it's gross. And they're not being honest about any of those experiences. And the minute I get on the fucking thing and I find anything unpleasant, I'm sorry, but the hype will cause you more pain because now I'm going to be doubly disappointed that you played it up like the place was fucking perfect. You know? Like you made that was a hell of a fucking cliff to jump off of. We will provide you with the most excellent family experience. We lost your luggage. Duh, you know, duh. Okay? And I'm the kind of person to be the doubting Thomas. I'm just, the more hoity-toity it is, the more I don't like it. I don't like it, you know? I don't want hoity-toity. Hoity-toity makes me uncomfortable and sort of angry. Defensive. I get that, you know, defensive feeling. All right. So, to see Hillary come around and get the nomination and everything like that certainly makes me feel stupid about some of the butthurt that I certainly have put on the internet for all to see during 2008. And that Hillary was very smart. Smarter than I certainly gave her credit for, to work within the Obama administration and keep the Democratic Party civil, you know, when I wanted to rage on and everything like this. And then come away with the nomination for the Democratic Party for the presidency in 2016. That's, you know, stupid me for not seeing that full possibility when I was so desperately hurt, you know, after the last election, which is kind of my hint to Bernie Sanders supporters. He has collected himself quite a bit of political clout now with his election campaign, much more so than Trump, you know, and he's gotten the conversation really going about things like a guaranteed income for humans, you know, particularly with the rise of automation in just about every sector. If your job's going to be taken, under $20 an hour, what are they going to encourage you into an oven? I mean, no, they can't do that. So there's going to have to be some sort of human dignity way of dealing with this, no matter what the fuck assholes like Sheldon fucking Adelson want. That guy's a fucking dickhead. And somebody you should know about people being herded in the ovens. What a creep for behaving the way he does when I think he's Jewish. You know, and I'm pissed at him because of the story I'm going to tell right now. I'm not pissed at him, but I'm pissed at him because he's such a fucking scummy little twerp, okay? Okay. Now, if you know anything about which I didn't know anything about Sheldon Adelson until the vote for medical marijuana in Florida. That failed because they needed a supermajority. Well, part of the reason it failed is because this guy who's invested in pharmaceutical companies and feels threatened by the legality of medical marijuana, even though I believe that he is in some offhand way also invested in medical marijuana, right? But like a pill, okay? He puts his money into political campaigns, particularly, obviously, in Florida. Okay, so he recently has purchased a newspaper in Nevada, okay, in Las Vegas. And he made and this was a newspaper apparently that was pro-marijuana, okay? And he made the entire staff go to like drug rehab or something like that and change the entire political position of the newspaper against marijuana from being pro-marijuana because now he owns it. Now, I think part of this, honestly, is the buying up of dead media that's happening all across the country. Like I pointed out that the Gannett Corporation bought up our newspaper because it's a rag. It was always a rag. It was a hometown rag in Mayberry. I had relatives that worked there. My friend worked there. They did the late shift. They used to do the inserts. I know all about that fucking newspaper and what they were like for the last 30 years and who owns them now and what it all means. And what it all means is it's a rag. It's junk. It's a magazine. You know, it's basically junk. Okay. So the reason why it's junk is because old media is failing. Their whole paradigm is falling apart. So they're losing. So now they're selling out their newspapers to people like Sheldon Adelson, that's going around purchasing up, you know, these newspapers in huge clumps. This probably isn't the only newspaper purchase he made, right? And yeah, he's going to use it for his political bent, but who the fuck is going to hear that? Old people, because that's who's reading those fucking newspapers anymore. And yes, it helped us get to this point. But after this point, millennials are pretty much the majority, and millennials don't like dudes like fucking Sheldon Adelson. So his audience is shrinking. He has to buy newspapers and change their political point of view because his influence now is not, money is not good enough anymore. You know, money only goes so fucking far. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you. And then I'm going to jump into why money only goes so fucking far. Nevada paper reverses marijuana stance after Adelson purchase. Las Vegas. Marijuana powered by weedmaps.com. A conservative billionaire has succeeded in pursuing an influential Nevada newspaper to reverse its long-time support for legalizing marijuana by buying it and then sending its editors, writers, to visit a drug treatment facility. Legalizing weed would jeopardize the health of countless Nevadans, expose more people to drug abuse and addiction, put excessive stress on the state's healthcare facilities, and do little to reveal the state's bloated prison population. Reads an editorial in Wednesday's edition of the Las Vegas Review-Journal. The paper was purchased last December by Sheldon Adelson, operator of Las Vegas's Sands Casino, and one of the richest people in the world, according to Forbes. The staunch opponent of not just legalizing marijuana, but also of allowing its medical use, he donated the lion's share of funds in opposition, to a medical cannabis initiative that was narrowly defeated by Florida voters in 2014. Remember, they needed a supermajority of 60%, and they were above 50, which would have been like in California, that would have passed it. And I can't honestly blame them for having a supermajority because voters don't always make the laws aren't necessarily the most amazing that come out of voter initiatives, and it is a constitutional amendment, difficult to overturn if there are mistakes. So I can understand them asking for a supermajority. And once they got it, there you go. The new editorial, a stark reversal of the Review-Journal's previous strong support for ending cannabis prohibition, comes as Nevada voters prepare to decide on a legalization measure in November. When advocates were collecting signatures to qualify the initiative for the ballot, the editorial board called it an important step forward in fixing a failed policy and telling Nevadans, if you are presented with a petition and you're a registered voter, sign it. In another piece, the board predicted that the measure would pass. As with gay marriage, public opinion has shifted on recreational marijuana, they wrote. Polls show a majority of Americans recognize the futility of prohibition and would rather see government collect taxes on the sale of the drug. But when Adelson took over the paper, he and his wife, Miriam, pursued editorial board members to visit a drug treatment center and reconsider the publications' support for legalization. In other words, they threaten their jobs. Until now, the editorial board has consistently opined in favor of marijuana law reform, as recently as December, when it criticized the U.S. Postal Service for threatening newspapers that print ads for cannabis businesses. In November, the paper editorialized that presidential candidates should endorse the removal of marijuana from Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substance Act, calling such a move an important and long overdue start to changing the costly trajectory of the failed war on drugs. Another piece concluded marijuana in mainstream, and there's no turning back. The Review Journal endorsed an earlier measure that legalized marijuana that appeared in November's ballot 2002, writing that it would give voters an opportunity to bring sanity to the state's overly burdensome drug enforcement policy, and that would end the needless harassment of individuals who peacefully and privately use marijuana, including seriously ill patients who should have some legal protection, not to mention peace of mind because they're covered by the medical marijuana program. And the board's drug policy reform stance have gone far beyond marijuana. This editorial has a long supported the decriminalizing, regulating, and taxing the sale of currently illegal drugs, reads the piece from the last year. This position is taken not only because of the Supreme Court's related to policing, prosecuting, and incarceration drug offenders, Supreme costs, not to mention the tragic and preventable cost in human lives, but also due to unacceptable facts that no amount of government pressure has ever reduced damage for illegal drugs in the United States. In fact, it has done the exact opposite. Adelson is reportedly preparing to launch a super PAC in support of Donald Trump's presidential campaign, but hasn't yet publicly announced to what extreme he will fund anti-marijuana efforts this year, including against the legalization measure in Nevada and a renewed medical cannabis push in Florida. But leading groups working to continue the criminalization of marijuana revealed that it is actively pitching at Adelson to fund their campaigns to defeat legalization initiatives appearing on ballots in Nevada as many as 5 other states this November. The organization's Smart Approach to Marijuana, SAM, announced last week that it has so far raised more than $300,000 to oppose legalization measures this year and is hiring field organizers in Las Vegas and Los Angeles, while the AUMA, Adult Use of Marijuana Act, has raised like $10 million. All they have raised is $300,000. They desperately need Sheldon Adelson's money. And in some ways, we want Sheldon to waste his money on failed campaigns. Burn his money in the trash. Sam's choice to focus much of its anti-legalization effort in Nevada this year, as opposed to other states with legalization measures such as Arizona and Maine, for example, raised questions about from whom its new money was donated, with some speculating that the potential of support from Adelson could have influenced the group's decision to hire the Las Vegas organizer. Review Journal editorial writer did not respond to Marijuana.com's request for the comment about what led to the paper's sudden shift away from supporting cannabis policy reform and whether the Adelsons were involved in drafting the new anti-legalization piece. No matter the cause of the reversal, it could have a big impact in a close election. Undecided voters often look to endorsements from opinion leaders, such as newspaper editorial boards, when making up their minds on ballot questions. So, if polls are tight as Election Day approaches, the paper's new stance could make the difference between legalization and continued prohibition in Nevada, especially if Adelson pressures it to weigh in repeatedly leading up to November. Yeah, This guy Sheldon Adelson's a real fucking sweetheart, and he's gonna buy up your hippie farm, make all your hippies go to some kind of a fucking rehab, and then turn it into like a slaughterhouse or something like that for red meat. Who knows what this creep's gonna do? This guy's a real fucking piece of work, man. What a scum. I hope he spends lots of money because he's losing. He lost, in the long run, he lost in Florida because the population there is very much about legalization now, even more so than before. He's lost public opinion across the country. That's why he's desperately buying up shitty newspapers that aren't worth the paper they're printed on anymore. Yes, people will look to public opinion makers in order to formulate their decision for voting. But if you just very clearly explain that this is not the same newspaper it used to be, and under Sheldon's leadership, I'm sure they're going to figure that out. Lots of people suddenly became very unhappy with the Ventura County Star. No matter how much the Ventura County Star proclaims that they're so popular, I don't see it in the comments. What happened to all the commenters? They all vanished because nobody wants to fucking sign up for your fucking paper and pay for something that's being written in LA or even further away, clear across the country in New York. Okay? We don't need that kind of shit here. So, we're basically just going to treat you like, that's a magazine. That's not really a newspaper about local news. That's more like a local magazine, So now when I go to look for things about local opinions and everything, I'm going to be looking to the internet. I'm going to be looking to any little local, little spun off, thing that's going on here, or blog or anything like that. I'm no longer going to be paying attention to Robo News. And that's what I'm telling you is happening with the news right now. It's turning into Robo News because it's cheap, it's failing. So these creepy rich people like Gannett are coming in, this corporation, and buying up this, failing business, and then they're going to use it to trumpet their stupid political views like they did with radio when radio was sort of dying off and talk radio was coming into power at the time when radio was losing popularity, So even fucking, what's his name, had to eventually go to satellite radio, the shock jock, I can't remember his name. Anyway, this is a dying medium. And the fact he's buying it up means that it's a dying medium. He's probably going to devour this newspaper like what Gannett seems to have done. They've devoured those newspapers. They buy them, they cut staff. They say this is making money for their shareholders. No, they're roboting the news and pumping out just whatever the fuck political bullshit magazine article, Reader's Digest crap they want to push out. And some people will read it, but not millennials, not people in my family. We don't get the Ventura County Star. Most of the people I worked with in the school district wouldn't have wiped their ass with the Ventura County Star, And now even the LA Times is in serious danger because more and more people don't have cable TV. They've cut the cord in their life, not just on the phone, not just on the cable TV, but the news. KTLA is an excellent example. My husband and I started watching KTLA when Sam Rubin and those guys first started, like in their first week when they were a crew together, right? And they thought nobody was watching. They literally said that. Nobody's watching. We could do whatever we wanted. That was the immediate moment I liked them. They became super popular. And they have ruled KTLA morning news ever since. And we love to watch them until 9/11. And we had to start watching CNN because, of course, now the whole world was going to blow up. And I really missed nice morning news, right? But by the time I got back to the nice morning news, it had gone from normal 1980s police chases and crazy stories out of LA to very pointed political, it's like there's such an obvious conservative slant to their news that my adoration and loving to be with the morning news was just not enough to put up with every fucking weed bust story, or how weed is dangerous, or how marijuana is dangerous. It was like slapping me in the face. It was totally pushing me away. We don't want you as a viewer. And I was like, they don't want me as a viewer. You know, every time they ran some story that was, positive towards the police or was against Occupy Wall Street or something, because they're a very fucking conservative kind of a TV, channel, I had to just click it off. And we cut our cable, and I've been getting my news from the web ever since. And I curate my own news, because why not? They do it. That's what they were doing. They were just telling it from their political slant. Why the fuck can't I do it? They actually taught me how to do it. They're stupid. Their behavior is stupid. I'm still smoking on this this God's gift, but I had to kind of mix it with other stuff I had left over. I had some buds that I bought last week, and I had some of that yucky shake, and so it stretched it all out. Because I was really enjoying that God's gift yesterday. I was so happy to be home. So, even though it sucks that a rich guy can go buy a newspaper and treat people like shit, and treat them like fucking, like Nazis used to treat Jewish people. I mean, not as bad, because they're not in an oven yet. But I wonder if this guy wouldn't like to put all us stoners in a concentration camp. You know what I mean? Concentration camp Erhard. You ever seen, oh gosh, what is that movie? Is it To Be or something like that? Anyway, it was really funny. Mel Brooks movie about, World War II. Oh gosh, Kelly. I just remember that. They call me Concentration Camp Erhard. Do they really? It's like so proud of it. Oh god, that was fucking so funny. Okay. So the reason why this kind of is, it's bad, but it kind of doesn't fucking matter, is that, here from The Guardian. Marijuana superstore wins legal battle over medical pot shop in California. So slowly, the conservative groups, newspaper guys, over in England, because that's where The Guardian is, has to admit what's really actually going on in America before America actually admits it. So change has already happened. It's been here for over a month. And where did it start? Because the DEA dropped that case against fucking Harborside and the other grower, okay? They backed out because they knew they were going to lose. They're waiting on a case in Washington, because if that case falls, that means the entire West Coast is now off limits, because the Ninth Circuit, which covers 10 Western states, is going to tell the rest of the country to fuck off, no matter what the fucking federal government says. So this is them sort of strategically beginning to have to admit that this is happening, right? So that's what this story is. And it doesn't matter how many fucking newspapers you buy. When a court that covers 10 Western states tells you to go and fuck yourself, you're baked. Okay? You're done. You've already lost the majority. I would say that Sheldon Adelson's purchase does reflect on his prohibitionist stance, but will it have a big effect? I'm not sure. Because in the next 4 months, who knows how many fucking people are going to believe in this. I doubt the numbers are going to start going down. For instance, in California, we're 55 to 60% support. And it's probably within, remember, a 5-point range. So it's either down or up. So it's either 50 or, okay. But the opposition is only 39%. There are only 39% of California voters who would strongly oppose this. The rest are undecided. They'll never, ever be able to make those numbers up. And all we need to do is pick up a few more to win. Okay? They can't make those numbers up in the next 4 months. What's going to happen? Some study? Some cop's going to come out with Halloween candy and go, oh, look, see, it's true. Now everyone, change your opinion. The Horses are out of the barn. And you're closing the door. Seriously, that's what the fuck's happening. Now, it upsets you that the farmer's an idiot and is closing the door. It upsets me. But the farmer's a fucking idiot. He's wasting his time. He's wasting yours. Go, oh, that's nice. Did you do that? Well, all I gotta say is that newspaper is now owned by a creep that turned it into Robo-News. How many staff members did you cut there, Sheldon? Huh? How many jobs did you cut from that newspaper? And did you make the excuse that those job cuts were due to addiction to marijuana or drugs? Yeah. So once I think that story starts to really unfold, it's going to be very telling about what's been happening to newspapers all across the country. Small town newspapers or big city newspapers that are getting bought up by creeps like this because they're no longer worth what? The paper they're printed on. Because they're not printed on hemp. Trees are expensive. Let's take a look at this. Hello. Let me put this down. Okay. This is TheGuardian.com. Marijuana superstore wins a legal battle over medical pot shop in California. The dismissal releases the largest medical cannabis dispensary in the U.S. from a tug of war between local and federal authorities over medical marijuana. Oh, I don't have this lined up right. Just a second. The largest licensed medical cannabis dispensary in the U.S., once dubbed the Marijuana Superstore, has won a 4-year legal battle with federal prosecutors who tried to shutter its Oakland and San Jose pot shops. That would be Harborside. And that was in the show, Weed Wars, right? Okay, so they actually fucking canceled that show. And yet they ran another show called Moonshiners for several seasons, which was about illicit alcohol production, or supposed illicit alcohol production. And Weed Wars or whatever had to be, fucking, no, can't have that. And now there's fucking marijuana shows all over the place. I mean, you're kind of not a hip fucking news outlet or cable TV or YouTube channel or anything unless you dip into weed a little bit and talk about it. And not in the usual prohibitionist dumbass way, but a funny entertainment way, You're kind of a dippity-dur old man, you know what I mean? If you're talking about it like, the dangers of marijuana. Real reefer madness ancientry there, dinosaur time. Okay, the government on Tuesday withdrew its forfeiture action intended to close down Harborside Health Center. The dismissal releases the dispensary from a tug-of-war between local and federal authorities over medical marijuana. The DEA dropped the case. Okay, this was they got ruled against, and the judge basically was like, what the fuck are you doing here? Hey, yo, we got laws up in here. What are you doing here? Why you be all up in here doing this? You're wasting everybody's time, fucker. Literally. The judge was like, what the fuck you up in there for? Because you ain't got no business. Did you see this Rohenbacher fucking law, motherfucker, Congress just voted for? Didn't they tell you to get your hands up off it? That's what the fuck they meant. Then the DEA comes back and they try to, go to another judge, maybe get a better ruling, right? They went up to a higher court, Ninth Circuit, right? Which is like 10 states. Big mistake. Because right at that very same moment, fucking way across the country, an old man Supreme Court judge gets smothered by a pillow. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Scalia goes down. Suddenly, all their smart ass fucking cases, not just in marijuana, but all kinds of other fucking shit, suddenly including whether or not teachers have the right to have unions and stuff, or that union members have to pay or something that would have threatened union support for teachers. Okay, not only this shit, but a whole bunch of other court cases went But because now, see, it becomes a trap. You're running. The court will favor our opinion. Oh, we're going to get you once the... Oh, and the judge is like, what the fuck you up in here in my court? Fucking wasting my time for it. And then they're like, oh, shit. Didn't you hear Scalia's dead, motherfucker? What did you think was going to... And then the trap went wham! And, you know, I swear to God, it must have been a pillow that killed that guy, because so many cases got flipped around right after that, where now it's in court and it looked like it was going to go one way. Now it's going the other way. And now it's like trading places. Remember that movie, Trading Places, with Eddie Murphy, right? And he traded with the rich guy and became the rich guy, and they were trading in the stock market. Well, at the end, they tricked the brothers, stock buyer, into purchasing a bunch of stock that in mere moments would be like worthless, while they purchased whatever the opposing. So I can't remember how it went. But the brothers got stuck. And that's what's going on here, is these guys are now stuck in the courts with not a court that is going to be friendly, when they assumed the court was going to go their way. Now, nobody will really say this because it's all like, official and shit, but it's politics. They were using the courts for politics, and suddenly their ace in the hole went and fucking died. It was funny. Oh, some people shit some cheese that day. They were like, what? That fucking screwed them over big time. And in this case, all right, suddenly the lower courts can just rule whatever way they want, and they don't have to worry about the Supreme Court overruling them, because what Supreme Court? Stupid idiot Republicans aren't going to allow President Obama to pick a Supreme Court judge. They're going to push it into Hillary Clinton's presidential, time, and she'll be picking, what they hope, and they'll probably get an even more liberal judge in the end, and they won't have a choice. They'll have to confirm somebody, because they can't stall on the thing and set a precedent that the Democrats can use against them when they have power. See? Their success becomes their foil, the thing that defeats them. Okay? It's just so funny. So the government on Tuesday withdrew its forfeiture action. Okay, because they said, oh shit, this is not going the way we want. We have basically the cavalry is not coming. Okay. Steve D'Angelo, Harborside's executive director, hailed the move as a signal that the beginning of the end of federal prohibition. That's exactly what it is. That is a huge, like Game of Thrones, right? Or Lord of the Rings. You're up against this huge castle with a huge gate, and somebody blows a hole in the sewer system, and now your forces are running down into the gutter because you're going, breach! We've breached the wall! And they're like, oh! Fucking all Viking style. Through the sewer system, popping up, fucking beaten, open fucking manholes and stuff popping up in the city, and all the guards, and everybody's like, oh shit! We've been breached! Ah, ching, 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 ching. It's what the fuck up in here. We're Ragnaroking their ass is what's up. Their own stupidity really did it, Okay, so this court case, and many like it that are now being overturned, or, or being dropped, not just in California, but now it looks like Washington's got one that's pending, is proving that the Ninth Circuit Court for these 10 states in the western part of the United States is going to tell the whole world to go suck its dick. That we have fucking regulation, and you ain't got no right coming up in here and trying to make some kind of prohibitionist fucking mess. Any fucking more. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, so though California became the first state to legalize medical pot after voters approved a ballot measure in 1996, federal law enacted by Congress in 1970 puts marijuana in the same category as heroin, finds it has no medical value, and prohibits its prescription under any circumstance. In 2012, the then U.S. Attorney Melinda Haig, the hag, the White Queen, okay, targeted Harborside as part of a crackdown on what she perceived as a flourishing network of illegal pot suppliers operating under the cover of California's medical marijuana laws. But Harborside representatives, customers, and Oakland's officials have praised the center as a model of compassionately distributing medical marijuana to sick patients while pumping tax dollars into municipal coffers. And Steve D'Angelo is very careful about his marketing strategy, and he believes very passionately in what he's doing. If you know anything about this man, and he does not like stoner culture, and he does not like the way 420 is presented, and he has some very good points about how reveling in just getting high is not a proper use of the plant, is maybe part of a prohibitionist background, because it's that feast or famine. If you think that at some point the government's actually going to eradicate marijuana from the world, you're going to smoke it like there's no tomorrow. Feast or famine. If you thought that was the last cake on earth, you're going to fucking hoard it. If you could get more cake, you're going to hoard all of the cake. Even, the sky, if somebody comes running by and says the sky is falling, you're going to start acting a fool and ripping fucking food off the shores, the store shelves at the grocery store, and pushing people and screaming and yelling, like any other sort of thing. So prohibition created in us. So I would argue that he's absolutely right in many ways, that we need to, during this change, think of it as arguing with your parents when you were a teenager. Once you move out of the house and your apartment is a mess and you're not doing the dishes and you're not eating healthy, you start to think that maybe some of the things that your parents said might have been true. And even though overall you were absolutely right to fight for your independence and you have a right to make your own mistakes, perhaps thinking about some of the things they said and taking those things into consideration when making choices in the future as an adult is not an unwise motive. You don't have to base your entire belief system on whether or not somebody finds a stoner's look, appearance, or behavior upsetting. All right. But what you could do is realize that this has not been an aid to you in the past. And that how can you, and I had to go through this too, how do you represent yourself as a person who does something or behaves in a certain way or believes a certain political way or whatever in the environment or whatever, without dressing like you're 14? Because when you get to be 50, the snapback hats and the t-shirts start to look a little interesting. And there at some point an adult does have to go to court or a funeral and dress like an adult. Okay. And present themselves to the world in a way that is not t-shirts made in China with big, huge, giant expressions on them. Unless they're more artistic. You know what I mean? I'm not being a prude. I'm just saying Steve D'Angelo has sold his dispensary brilliantly, and his candor and his ability to project marijuana as a healing plant, as a substance that we have a relationship with and that we should respect, and then watch him smoke pipe after pipe on Weed Wars. I'm gonna be honest, they smoked a lot of weed on that show. Okay, I think that those two messages won the battle. And us stoners could, it beat a fucking federal fucking prosecutor, this Melinda Haig, and she looks like some kind of fucking character from fucking Game of Thrones, the White Queen. She looked like an albino fucking snow monster. So, it beat her, so we could take some tips and apply it in your own way to somehow, I don't know, step up your game, maybe. So I think Steve D'Angelo is absolutely right. I didn't like his message either because I have been a stoner for 30 years and I've been at plenty of concerts. I've worn plenty of concert t-shirts and stoner t-shirts. At some point, I have to present myself to the non-stoner community as an adult. And I need to find a way to do that. See? And I think all of us should think about that. Whether you do it or not, that's a personal choice. But I think it would help. And it certainly helped him. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, here, opened in 2006, Harborside was the subject of the hit reality series Weed Wars. It serves more than 1,000 people a day in Oakland and in a sister San Jose dispensary and employs 150 people, D'Angelo said. Now, it had to operate as a nonprofit, so any money they made, they had to reinvest into the business with like massage therapy classes or whatever. They had to offer their patients something other than just medicinal marijuana. So there was educational classes, there was massage therapy, there were holistic medicine kind of things, I guess. So he was really smart about how he kept pushing this towards the ultra health angle. You know, an ultra health angle is not Jolie Olie going, "What up, YouTube? What up?" and hitting BB bong. You know, that's a prohibitionist mindset. I hate to say it. Even I have it. But at some point, we have to, you know, have class, like a wine drinker, sip it, you know, sip it, you know. You don't got to prove to me what a stoner you are anymore. I know that. I get it. That part's over. That it doesn't affect you. You don't have to smoke the biggest joint on earth. I get it. It's not harming you. I see it. It's not necessary. You know, we proved our point. We won. Now we get to dress in our robes of dignity and get our medals, just like at the end of fucking Star Wars. Okay? Going out there, yo, what up? You know? I don't remember the movie ending that way. Okay, when Haig filed the legal action for 4 years ago, she described Harborside as a marijuana superstore. It is 8,000 square feet, and the Oakland store last year took in $28 million, enough to make it the second largest retail taxpayer in Oakland, a fact not lost on officials in a city that struggled to find money to staff its police department. Gee, I know another city like that, and it's called Ventura. But these guys are dippity-doo-wads. Derpity-doo-wads. Derpity-doo. Oakland officials said they preferred to regulate and tax the cannabis industry rather than drive it onto street corners, and the city sued for federal government to keep Harborside open. Abraham Simons, a spokesman for U.S. Attorney Brian Stretch in San Francisco, confirmed that the government dismissed its legal action seeking to close Harborside. Nonetheless, he added that his office would continue to exercise its discretion in deciding where and how to enforce the Controlled Substance Act. Hollow words. I'll be back! Okay, so here is the difference between the opposition and us. And what I was saying is the age of who the fuck cares what you think, because you're not in the you're in the minority now. You're not in the majority anymore. And worse than that, people found out you lied, and you used every sort of tactic to keep your lie hidden. And you made the public part of your lie because you made it about public health, you know, while at the same time, at some point, I think in the 90s, making pain a medical condition, something that the Oxycontin and pharmaceutical companies probably pushed for. And then by 2016, we're prescribing opioids to kids that get their tonsils out, and then they die because their parents gave them too much, because the hospital did not give proper instruction, is probably what's going on. The kids probably didn't need to die, It's just that you're giving incredibly dangerous drugs to normal people and assuming nothing bad is going to happen. And it's been an absolutely irresponsible policy. Absolutely fucking irresponsible. It's like we made crank a federally regulated drug and gave it to pharmaceutical companies, and now everybody's snorting lines and seeing ghosts and hearing voices, and we're like, wow, those people have medical, they're addicted. Yeah, I wonder who the fuck got them there. Okay. As a matter of fact, I've been wanting to recommend a movie for all you stoners out there to watch. This is a good point to do that before I tell you about this next story. I'm not going to read it to you, but it's a video, so I'll be able to throw that up. Okay, so you need to go watch a movie with Sean Connery called Outland. Outland. It's like the drug war in the future. Okay, Sean Connery is, and this is actually taken from an old Western, right? Sean Connery is a sheriff that is working on a mining moon site that is owned by a big corporation, right? A big space mining corporation from Earth. And the mining corporation is secretly giving their employees through a black market system a crank-like drug that improves their productivity and makes them like super soldiers from Nazi Germany, so they crank out all the productivity in their mining operation, but then at some point makes them psychotic because of lack of sleep and shit like that. Okay. So Sean Connery finds out about this, and then the police department's in on it, and he finds out there's these killers coming this is the part where it's like from this old other Western. I can't remember what the Western's name is. Anyway, so they show up to kill him, but basically the whole thing that is kicking this off is this mining company wants to basically use their employees as guinea pigs, and then call them drug addicts and say, oh, this isn't our problem. I don't know how this is happening. When they're the ones shipping in the fucking drugs with the food supply. So you definitely have to check out this movie. It's called Outland. And it's with Sean Connery. And it is like the drug war in the future. It's literally the drug war in the future. And this thing was made like in the early 1980s or something, I think. I can't remember exactly when it was made. I think it was like, all the movie theaters or the movie makers went, wow, Alien did real good. We need something from space. We'll figure, we'll have monsters chasing beautiful girls in space, Okay. So the last story I wanted to tip you off to and this is why I got started so early in the morning, because I just thought the entire morning was very productive. Even though the Sheldon Adelson story is heartbreaking, it's like you just can't stop the amazing progress we're making. And we absolutely must acknowledge it and begin to examine who we are. Don't get hubris. That's like, I remember when I stepped up in my job at work, I remember saying to myself, don't get cocky. Don't get cocky. Now is not the time to get cocky, So that's what I'm saying about this win is don't get cocky. We're still got to keep this thing on trajectory. But I'm telling you, this is definitely, we're doing very well. And we're beginning to now get to the part where there's going to be cleanup battles here in the western states. And if Congress moves to pass the CARES Act, which could happen because of majority support in the country, that's when gay marriage started to get lots of support, was when it went way the fuck up to like 70%. And the country was like, okay, we're done being stupid about this. We're just it's not worth it. Now we've piddled down to they're blocking LBG people from peeing in whatever bathroom they feel comfortable peeing in. That's a dumb place to be with this argument, and it won't last long. It's kind of comical that these idiots are wasting their time with this, but that's what happened with abortion. They couldn't stop abortion, so they just figured out ways to keep abortion clinics from being in your community through zoning laws and shit like that. It piddles down to the pathetic, you could get in a car and drive somewhere and just still get an abortion. Blue law, kind of derpity, this is the town that doesn't allow dancing thinking. It's a waste of their time. It's a waste of your time to be concerned about it, and it will just make them disappear like Brigadoon. These people that don't keep up, that's the town that vanished, And then, maybe once every 100 years they get an internet service and they read the news and they catch up, and then suddenly the town appears and they're like, and then as soon as something like, hey, we're going to let, this guy that dresses like a girl use the girl's restroom, they fucking freak out and the whole town, poof, vanishes from existence and importance because they just fucking flew back to the past. And became invisible to the rest of us because they don't exist in the present with us. See what I'm saying? It's like old people, they begin to sort of disappear and they're standing right next to us, and yet they're vanishing. It's like they're becoming opaque. They're clear, see-through. They don't seem to make an impression on reality as much as they used to, Unless, of course, they're shelved in Adelson and they've got billions of dollars to blow. And I guess that's the only way you can make an impression after a while. Okay. So after that rambling. So the video I'm going to show you here is from CBS Denver, Channel 4 apparently. CBSlocal.com, denver.cbslocal.com. Okay, Jack's Law, medical marijuana in school bill signed by governor. And this is why I stopped working for the school district. Try to put yourself in my place. I'm standing on a playground. I'm secretly a medical marijuana patient. I'm in literally the center of prohibition reality. There's urine tests. There's drug dogs. I used to stand and guard the students while the drug dogs went into the classroom and sniffed all of their bags. Something I consider to be an absolute not okay thing to do. And could not, especially not at their age. And I thought particularly disruptive to the classroom. Hated the drug dogs. Hated them. Not because they were mean dogs or something, because I thought, first off, nobody asked the dog what he wanted to do. And if you actually could tell the dog what he's doing, I don't think he'd be down with it. He just wants to please his master and go after the ball. Okay? I didn't like that they were subjugating the kids to searches without any sort of reason. I didn't like that it was disrupting their educational day. I didn't like that it disrupted their minds from education. I didn't like the handlers of the dogs. I thought they were sometimes unprofessional, allowing the dogs to lick from the kids' drinking fountain. So I had to call, now, the custodian, could you please come clean this all up? Because he just let his dog lick his fucking tongue. As a matter of fact, he held the water for it, so it could drink directly out of the drinking fountain at school. So I had to do a lot of things that I did not like at all. And I can tell you, I thought was dead wrong. And I thought, I'm going to say it nice. These fools don't know what they're in for. Because within 10 years, they will have to allow students that will use some sort of medical marijuana on campus because it will aid them in their day. Make them better students, more attentive, less stressed out. And then on some other campus in the same school district, you're going to have drug dogs. Get ready to look like a fucking idiot. And I looked around and I said, this place is about to hit a giant car wreck. It's like watching two trains fly and I'm on one of them. And I'm like, I think and you can't tell anybody because you can't look supportive too much because then they're going to start, because you're endangering the kids and, okay, you couldn't possibly be a responsible person if you were a medical marijuana. There is no such thing as medical marijuana. They told me the most ridiculous shit. When I went there, they said that a person who is stoned could not cross their eyes. And this is how we could tell that students were high. I don't know. What is that? I don't know. Wait. Can you cross your eyes when you're high? They're fucking idiots. I was like sitting there. Oh my God. The level of ignorance here is, and I can't tell them anything, because if I do, I automatically red flag myself. I'd love to help you, but you are too stupid to help. So I helped the best I could to keep kids on track. Toot, 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 toot. Right? Then I'm, a news hound. So I'm boo, going through the news, and I see that Attorney General Holder has said that they are not going to prosecute marijuana in states that have medical marijuana. And I'm like, we just won. That's a win. And everybody's like, oh, but California doesn't have it regulated, and they never will. Boom, we got that done. Boom, it's in line with AUMA. The minute you said, hey, money, to fucking California, that's when their heads turned. Oh, DEA. Were you talking to me? Seriously, town, cities, boom, get the fuck out of my face. I'm tired of carrying your pail of water. Somebody just offered me fucking a job, money. You ain't bringing me money. You're bringing me sadness. You're bringing me a hole in my pocket. The fuck up out of my face. So I saw that and I'm like, holy Jesus Christ. And here's what I know about marijuana. You can build a house with it, with the hemp version. You could build a car. Henry Ford did. You could run a car. You could run a school bus. You could build a school bus. You could build a self-driving school bus that runs on hemp oil. And is better for the environment. It only takes 6 months to grow a crop. And it takes a lot to get steel or plastic from the ocean. Like our environment. It costs our fucking environment. All that paper they use in school, dead trees that could be just hemp. I was looking at the building. I was looking at the bathrooms, the toilet paper, the things that most people don't fucking notice. And I was like, holy shit. They're in trouble. It isn't just from the laptops and the cell phones they're in trouble. They're in trouble because their buildings and their way of doing business and their engagement with textbook companies and paper manufacturing companies and stuff is dooming them. So now textbooks are desperately trying to get sort of, testing some things and stuff that are on tablets and all this kind of thing. And I'm sorry, but the tablet is the school. What the fuck do you need a building for and a bus and shit if the kid can sit on a tablet, interface in a VR reality, and go to class? The only thing that the kid needs to do is go for sports, like maybe once a week, twice a week. He could go down the hill to some fucking, park or something, meet up with this class, do his sports and come home. Go off someplace else to do science. A facility that just does that, not one particular school. You wouldn't have people shooting up schools. You could have the self-driving cars moving everybody very fluently to whatever location they need to be. And if they don't need to travel, they can use the interface like I'm using right the fuck here. So I'm standing on this playground like, holy shit, I gotta get the fuck off this train. I can't even begin to explain what I see to these people. They aren't going to get it, and they're too invested in the system to even begin to unwind this. I mean, they're literally in the forest with the trees like this, and I'm like outside because, as a security guard, you're outside. As a playground duty person, you're outside. So you're looking at things and the operation of a building and people's behaviors from a distance. And people in the buildings or in the lights and the flashy lights, everything, it's up in their face. So they don't see the kind of details that you see from far away when you're a security guard. You don't pick up the rhythms and stuff of people's behavior, the group behavior like you do when you watch that happen every day. And I was like, oh no, these guys are headed for, I can't tell them. They think I was crazy. I gotta get the fuck out of here. That's what I thought. Woo! Okay. So today, as I said with the story when it first popped up, this is proof of what the fuck I was saying. So now there's this new law, right? And in Denver, that Hickenlooper just signed, Jack's Law, medical marijuana in schools bill, signed by governor. Now, I'll tell you exactly what the fuck is going to happen. When there is a child, okay, this all comes from the American, Disabilities Act. That it doesn't matter what the fuck a student's disability is. He could have a tube in his neck. He has to be fed through a tube. He's bedridden. He's going to stop breathing every 5 minutes. There's going to be a crash cart in the hallway. That student has a right to his education and not later, now. So that school has to accommodate that student from their community. No matter what the fuck is going on. I don't care if they got tentacles and spit acid, or they're a vampire, or they have superpowers. You're gonna fucking modify your program to help that one individual child. Because that's how we roll in America. And that's how education rolls. And that person's gonna get a one-on-one fucking aid. And they're gonna get side classes. And they're gonna have all kinds of fucking, what do they call them? I forgot. It's been only 2 years and I've already forgot everything. But anyway, they're going to have IEPs and stuff, which is a group of professionals who are going to meet with the parents and talk about what the plan for that student is, for the success of that student. And all of those professionals are working for the parent. The parent is not on trial. The parent has those resources are for the parent to utilize for their child. So if you go to those meetings and you feel intimidated, don't. That is about you being in power. They're there to bow before. Don't let them make you feel otherwise. So psychologists, physical therapists, speech therapists, all these guys are there to make you fucking happy. You walk into that meeting like that's what's supposed to be going on. You're here to make me happy because my child has special needs. And my child is not going to get dicked out of his education because you don't want to deal with that. That's not how this works. There's the American Disabilities Act. Bathrooms, all kinds of other stuff have to be allowed, for access for people with disabilities. And that includes fucking education, and that includes medical fucking marijuana now. And that's the end of your goddamn prohibition in the fucking education system. And here's why. Because not only do you have to help that student be successful, you have to explain to the other students what is happening. You can't just have a kid come in that has superpowers and not have a couple of classroom little moments where you're like, yes, Johnny is different. Let's talk about those differences because that's a teachable moment. And you don't let that fucking slide. And you don't fucking teach it as Johnny's going to become a drug addict and it's going to make him fucking addle-brained and psychotic, and you ain't going to fucking say that shit. So that's the end of that fucking crap in the education system, and that's what I was after. Because what I saw going on was wrong. Ding dong wrong. Okay? And on top of that, when you add to it their bullshit about how legalization was going to make teens smoke more, that was the exact goddamn argument that I had in the 70s with adults. I said, I'm a kid, but I'm an aware kid. I'm still a kid and everything at 16, but I always kind of felt out of body about my experience in here. Like, oh, she's cool. I like her, about myself, I've always kind of had this observer, position in my own existence. And so, when I would talk to adults, I would say, I hang out with kids. I am a kid. And I can tell you that the reason why it's so popular with us is because you act like such fucking assholes about it. And it's a way to goat you. And we will goat you with anything. You say, don't do that, we're going to go do that. Just because you said so. That's the game. And they just did not get that. You got to treat, people sort of like Disneyland. Sort of like the way Grand Theft Auto is an open sandbox experience. People got to be able to bump their heads a little bit on reality without you coming in and saving them from that. And allow them to come and ask you questions, not keep shoving the answers down their throat. People don't like hype, and they don't want to be led to the fucking water trough. They want to find it a little bit on their own, you know? And prohibition was too much shoving kids' faces in a water trough that they don't fucking... You can lead a horse to water. I remember the fucking teacher in fucking the 1970s saying this shit to me. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Well, you can't make a goddamn teacher not be an asshole either, apparently. You know, and say shit in class you should not be fucking saying to kids when we're alone. Okay? That was then, this is now. Okay, and that's what I'm saying is, this is a good change. And now you can start concentrating on if there's a kid that it needs this because of medical reasons, because it will help him with his PTSD from his traumatic fucking life with his parents, or whatever the fuck is going on. His mom's dying of cancer, whatever the fuck. If this helps that kid be successful in school, and it is not a deadly drug, while you are prescribing fucking Ritalin, which is speed, so the kids are more attentive in class, so you are on the wrong fucking tip here. Okay, I just was like, this needs to be straightened out. And I can't do it within the system, so I have to bail, alright? So here it is, not that I did this, but people like me screaming and yelling and saying, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. I'm sorry, prohibitionists, but I'm not going to give you the high schools. I'm not going to give you the elementary schools. And you're not going to victimize our kids anymore. It's wrong. You're doing it wrong. As usual, you got a warlike mind fucking set, and you want to just carpet bomb everything with drug dogs and fucking piss tests and stuff and anklets, and you're just making a nightmare fucking dystopic world. And then you don't want to take responsibility for it. And it really is not, it's fucking up our jobs, trying to keep these kids on track to be successful. And then you sit there and you blame them. No. No, no, fucking no. Nobody gets to come in Darth Vader costumes, the education system, and impact students' lives, and then sit there and say it's a student's fault. Nice try, not going to happen. Those students are under 18 by law. They are not responsible for their behavior, period. You're the adult, fucking behave like one. I don't like to have to lecture people like I'm their mother, but that's what the fuck it is. We are here on a mission to help these people be successful, not fuck them so you can make a little profit. And you can have a victim to put in prison later on because you don't like the community they come from. Nobody gives a fuck what you think. Okay, so seeing this story made me very happy. And that's a long way to explain that. I'm sorry that was so long. That was 24 minutes. So the last thing I'll do here is I'll show you this video. The fact that they're signing to the kid. I worked in hearing impaired program. I spent 25 years working with kids. I couldn't have done anything better with my life. I don't care if I never made a penny doing it. And I made pretty good money for part-time. It's not like, you know, fast food. I could have been cleaning bathrooms in a hotel, and I have done that. Working with kids brings a little more honor. And honor is priceless, you know? And because you were a stoner, if they found that out, they would have taken away your opportunity to gain that honor, assuming that you were somehow a danger because you didn't fit into their political fucking plan. You were like a independent thinker, you know? Well, I beat them. I got my honor. I'm walking away with it. And they lost. I think that's good, you know? I'll take that. I'll take that. That's a good win right there. Okay. So, I'm going to let you go. You stay high and goodbye. Adios. Take it easy. And hopefully I'll be even more re-up tomorrow. I'm hoping, you know, to be able to, I'm going to try to get some more wax for this pen because I really like it. And I did some experimentation, which I'm so embarrassed to say, in making my own, what do they call it? ISO wash, right? Okay, so I didn't want to use buds because I was going to fuck it up. So I used some leaf trim, right? Just leaf. And this weird, gooey, hard, sort of shattery, and it's too hard. It's like almost impossible to pick off. But this weird, hard, shattery type stuff came out of it, right? It's horrible. It smells horrible and everything. But I used 110 proof gin that happened to be sitting around somewhere, and did the quick ISO wash and took it outside, and I used an iron and a double boiler setup with a skillet to boil off the gin, and this was what was left, and I just wanted to do it as an experiment. Not because I tried it. It doesn't taste like gin. It tastes weird. It tastes, like burnt, like vaped weed is what it tastes like. It tastes gross. Okay. So I wouldn't recommend it. But it was an experiment to see what this process was, and could I do it without blowing myself up, and stuff like that. And really the iron I had used a iron as the heating source, right? So the iron has such a low setting that it would barely bring the water to a simmer. And then you just would barely see any of the vapor coming off. So it wasn't a quick boil off. It took a while to do, a couple hours or whatever. So it wasn't like super gassy fumes or something. But anyway, it was just interesting to try it. And I'm still very not excited about doing it with buds because it's scary for me that I'm afraid I'm going to ruin my weed. But doing it with the leaf, I thought, well, I'm not going to use that for anything except maybe food or mulch or something like that. So, if I can help it. So I thought it was worth it to use a little bit to just see what happened. And it was an interesting chemical extraction result. I don't know what the green material, I know there was a lot of leaf material because it really kind of crushed up and got really fine. And you could smell it. But, it reminds me of something like patchouli or something. It's got a very herby, but not pleasant smell. Anyway, so I don't know what, I'll probably throw those away or something. That was probably a complete waste of all those leaves. But it was, like I said, I wanted to see what would actually happen and if I could do this if I wanted to use actual buds. And I think I would have to use a better strainer to make sure that the plant material didn't get in there. Because the burning plant material, like in this thing, it ends up being a wad of black goop. And it's like a little ember. And that definitely does not I had to clean this thing really good to get that nasty taste out. So I'm kind of like, well, that was interesting. I'm still not sure I'm ready to do an ISO wash on my own. But from like, I don't know, a little jar, about maybe that full of shake, I got 2 of these big things out of it. So if it was bud and crystally, I'm assuming I would get something out of that, So I don't know. It's all very interesting. What I could use this for is like a lotion. I could melt this down and use it for like a topical lotion or something without ingesting it and getting the nasty flavor. And I definitely do like making the lotions. Something like that. Maybe a lip balm. It definitely does not get you high. There's like no feeling whatsoever. It's like kind of not, it's gross. It was a mistake to put it in my pen. I'll admit it. I shouldn't have tried that. All right. So let's take a look at this video. And that was an interesting story about my experimentation. And I'll see you tomorrow. The fuck is wrong with
Schools in Colorado will soon be required to allow medical marijuana. The governor signed that bill into law today. It allows the pot, but with strict conditions. Our political specialist, Sean Boyd, explains.
Do you like school? Do you like school?
Jack Split loves school, so when his school confiscated the only medicine that treats his debilitating muscle spasms, saying cannabis is a controlled substance, Jack and his mom took their fight to the state capitol.
Kids don't have the benefit of time when they're sick and when they need to go to school We need to do everything we can to make sure we can provide reasonable accommodations.
Yep, you're
So
using
he
the
introduced
exact
another
fucking,
bill
that's the
this year,
disability,
making it
American
clear this wasn't
Disabilities
optional.
Act.
Jack and his
That's
mom,
what I
Stacy
worked
Lynn,
under.
came back to testify
These
again.
fucking tards
These
think they
kids
can
don't
block
have
people from
a
this.
lot of the
They
things
are
that
ding
normal
dong,
kids have.
fucking
And
dumb
one of the
and
things that they
wrong.
have is school. And medical marijuana allows them to go to
They were
school in a
always
way that
wrong.
they've
They
never
were
been able
always
to go
wrong
before.
with this.
So this is what works,
I
and this is
worked
what we
with
need.
people
This is
that
what
for
they need to
years
go to
I
school and
watched
be
them
kids.
be wrong
Amber
on
Wan
this
and son
dead
Benjamin, who takes hemp
dick
oil for
wrong.
seizures, also testified after his school called Child Protective Services. Today, the district is writing a policy named after Benjamin.
They're expecting that that will be implemented by this upcoming school year.
As for the new bill, it's now Jack's Law for all kids like Jack.
What really passed this bill were the kids and the parents that showed up to, speak truth to power and power listen this time.
At the Capitol, Sean Boyd, CBS 4 News.